So did you see that, AJ?
I loved it. You look so beautiful in there. But I love the questions on it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I was hoping that might spark some things for you too. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this new show, EvApostate, about toxic narcissism, sociopathy, especially covert malignant narcissistic sociopathy, which is sadly something that we see it, we find it all over, and it poisons our interactions with other humans. And so I'm trying to raise the narrative, and I'm trying to elevate the conversation and allow for this to be a safe space for people to talk, call in, share their experience, talk about their experience, or share their knowledge, whatever it is. But this is a safe space for people to talk and ask questions, and all calls are welcomed. And obviously we have a wonderful Wes producing and screening today, and so thank you. And so I wrote a book briefly. It's probably going to show up as, oh no, it's not. Okay, so Finally Free, My Exodus from the Covert Malignant Narcissist Sociopaths. And I talk about my experience. And at the end of the book, I've got 16 facts about the CMNS. And so all topics but the whole point of it is for us to have a safe space. And in addition to that, I want to raise the narrative about how religion does this to us, and how damaging it is. I have my own deconstruction story, so I'd like to thank Neil, the 604 atheist, as well. Give a shout out to him, and Wes. Thank you. I was a guest on Neil's show just very recently, and I talked about my deconstruction, and I've gotten to see you, AJ, do your deconstruction story. I want to also thank the broader community of the atheist community that's in Austin. That in Matt Dillahunty and Promise and all these other hosts do these shows, and it's really important. Durante Lamar's another one who I really appreciate in terms of raising our awareness and having the conversation get mature, right? Have this conversation grow up, have these narratives grow up, because we're dealing with some really ass backward stuff. So please, AJ, thank you so much for being here today. I'm going to read one little thing from my book as a little bit of
Intro.
inspire intro. Yes, inspiration. That's pique your thoughts. But I know, AJ, you've got some things to share with us about your experience. So I'm going to take one of my 16 facts about the covert malignant narcissist sociopath. They gaslight. I never said that about the last thing they just said 10 seconds ago. I have recorded Mr. X. Mr. X destroyed my life, so there's a lot about him here. And played it back to him, and he has looked at me dead in the face and said that he didn't say that. This is how they make you lose your mind. When I pressed with facts, he prevaricated with, well, I didn't mean that. To which I invariably replied, then you shouldn't have said it. They respond to this with a word salad of accusations and evasions. Word salad. An incoherent, rambling, dysfunctional statement or collection of statements consisting of an odd mix of seemingly random words and phrases. It is a circular language tactic to confuse you, use your words against you, define you as the problem, and divert away from addressing the issue. Word salad will include, but is not limited to, introducing unrelated, quote, issues or past events into the current conversation. Otherwise, whataboutism is another way of saying it. Blame shifting, projection, stonewalling, sympathy, and sympathy plays or victim dramas, suddenly crying or morphing into excessive emotion, equivocating, gaslighting. And as I'm sure you know, AJ, and I guess you'll talk about this too, is with high demand religions, word salad is one of the disgusting weapons used, as well as gaslighting. So, having prompted the conversation, callers, please call in should you wish to talk with us. And AJ, please, let's start with you, and I'd love to hear your experience.
Thank you.
And I'll jump in with questions as I may, if I may. Yes.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, please stop me anytime and ask any questions you want. Like wow, I felt really identified with that passage that you just read, and also I was thinking back to the little intro that you had, with the questions and stuff. And one of them that jumped right at me was like, "You're too sensitive." because I can't tell you how many times I've heard that one. So for as far as my religious experience, I would say that it about the specific religion that I was attracted into was the Assembly of God, right? And they were uh, they're quite extreme in that sense. I would say they believe in like the whole speaking in tongues and that kind of skills that you have to be saved.
There's something happening with your sound. I'm so sorry. There's something happening with your sound, and I'm having
Okay,
trouble hearing you.
okay. Let me see if maybe if I move it a
Oh,
little closer.
yes.
Did that
Yes,
work?
yes, yes. Please.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. I think
please.
it was
Yeah.
just the
So you,
position of my microphone. Thank you.
okay. So you were saying about the Assembly of God is where you came in. You went into.
That's right. So the Assembly of God um, is very much based on humans are weak, right? Like pointing out all of your weaknesses and how you need that salvation, and you have to have your baptism in order to be saved. Submit yourself completely to God and all of that stuff. Speaking in tongues, which I never actually did, and I'm thinking it was because I wasn't baptized, although I had been baptized as a baby, but as a Catholic. So I guess I have both Catholic Christian roots. um, but I would say I was lucky enough that while I was in that specific sect of Christianity, I didn't experience as severe trauma as people like yourself or Jasper Hoffman or Chad Harris, who have both met, and we shared the panel with them at NanoCon that Sydney Davis led. I was really really happy to have been invited to that, but I felt a little out of place because like their stories are so powerful and so heartbreaking, and I was like, wow, like it could have been so much worse for me. But the gaslighting, of like, well, you're bad, but then they're like, well, no, I didn't say that. Like, it's just. But for me, what I've realized is that perhaps all of those narratives that I experienced while being religious made it more than likely what led me to fall easier for the gaslighting that people preyed upon me after I left the religion. And unfortunately, this has happened from loved ones. It wasn't even like strangers or people that I didn't know very well. It was like family members and people who are considered friends. Um, One of these very specific examples that I can give you is one of my husband's family members. And they started like probably about 2 years ago. And at first, like for so many years, we weren't super close. But when it started getting closer is when the things started to unravel. And we always have like family group chats where, we communicate for like events that we're gonna have, for family gatherings, or like things we want to do together, or talk about family stuff. And sometimes every now and then, topics of more serious current events will come up. And this was around the time where I began to more publicly announce that I was not a believer. Um, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously deconstruction takes quite a while. So,
Mm-hmm.
so he is a Catholic, and most of my husband's family is either Catholic or Christian, or a mix of the two, or have been one or the other at different parts of their lives. And I think he took this and began to bring it up in this group chat that the whole family had, and in order to have me discuss my beliefs and I guess dig deeper into what
Mm-hmm.
I believed, like what atheism was. And at first I was like, oh, cool, let's have these conversations because I love to have conversations with people who still believe, but in a respectful way.
Uh-huh.
But it led into poking. First, it was
Right.
like mild poking, like bringing topics that he knew will raise my temperature a little bit, right? But then it turned into more serious topics that um, mattered a lot more to me. Things like trans rights,
Uh-huh.
because my kid is non-binary, and
I
I'm
was
not
about
really.
to ask you if this was
Yeah,
so, because I know that you've spoken about how your child, there was so much that happened with your child. So, yeah, sorry.
yeah, yeah. My kid is amazing. Has been through so much. But I don't think this family member necessarily knew that my reasons for speaking uh, about trans rights so strongly, but he'd seen me talk about it on my shows and on my Facebook and stuff like that. Because I in the beginning, I never mentioned it was related to my child. So I don't think they were targeting my child specifically. They were just targeting the things that matter to me for whatever reason that was. And so trans rights was one of the most prevalent things that he would bring up. And I kept telling my husband, I think it's because there have been many situations before where I felt like he would be like, well, I didn't say that, or, I didn't mean that,
Hmm.
or you're being too
Right,
sensitive, such things. And so
right.
it came to this point where we were having this specific conversation about um, what was her name? Khalif, the boxer, uh, the trans boxer. Well, what he said was a trans boxer, but it wasn't a trans boxer. It was a woman who was a
Okay.
boxer who looked a little bit masculine, right? Because not every woman looks like a perfect Barbie. And so he assumed because of all the media stuff that she was trans. And so he brought that into that group chat, and we began having a conversation about all of this. And that was when he made one of like really horrible comments to me about how everybody was created in God's image. And so I began to ask him, well, was I created in God's image? Because my body is very, very damaged. I have a cochlear implant. I've had a double corneal transplant. Like, definitely not a perfect
Hmm.
body. And he's like, well, yeah, everybody is. I was like, well, if you think that trans people are created perfect and they shouldn't have surgeries because they're created perfect, then you're saying that someone like myself who chose to have a cochlear implant, I didn't medically need it. It was my choice to have it. If someone like that is created perfect, then I shouldn't have had it. And he's like, yeah, no, you should have. You should have respected the body that God gave you because you were created perfect. So basically, he
Hmm.
didn't want me to experience things like having this conversation right now, which was impossible for me before the implant. Yeah, it would have never happened.
Hmm.
Um, and I felt very isolated from the world, even from people in person, because like having a conversation with people in a restaurant was really, really hard for me. It was like, okay, I was like, well, what about my kid that had open heart surgery? And he didn't flat out say it, but he said, well, everybody is created perfect. And so when I tried to confront him about it, about the fact like, hey, like my kid would have died if we didn't choose to have that surgery. And he's like, well, that's not what I said. And that's not what I meant. And the gaslighting was like, I was like, I literally have it right there in the entire
Wow.
group chat. And so this led to
So
a
I
lot of, yeah, go
want
ahead,
to
please.
ask you a question. When you first mentioned this, did you say, hey, do you not recall you saying this in the group chat? Did any of that discussion happen?
Right, like we had the entire conversation in one go.
I'm
So
just
it's
curious about, because in my passage from the book I said, like, I recorded him and then I
right,
would
right.
play it back for him like, "Hi, you just said that." And he would literally look at me and say, "No, I did not say that." And
Okay,
then
I have an example about
when I
that one,
pressed him
like
for
that, but
yeah, when I
later.
pressed him for it, he when
Yeah.
I pressed him, then he would say, "Oh, I didn't mean that." And then I would say, "Okay, so then you should be
Yeah.
accountable and don't say what you don't mean and say what you mean." So anyway, go on.
Right. No, yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I think at the time I was just so shocked and so like heartbroken and upset that I guess I didn't. Well, but I did say, like, you did say it, and he was, repeated it. No, I didn't say it, and he said, so I should have probably shown the receipts. Um, but I figured he had just said it, so you know.
Right. Why
But
should you have to show somebody a receipt for that? Sure.
yeah, and there were other people in that chat too, and nobody like intervened or anything. But this actually led to a lot of tension between the other family members, and because this happened repeatedly with other topics as well that he would bring up that were important to me, and it was always sort of the same result. For example, if we got into an argument about religion specifically, which he would bring up, um, it always ended in him making himself the victim and saying that my reaction was me attacking him, even though he was the one that wanted me to have that reaction. And I think he enjoyed seeing that reaction from me, and which is why he kept doing it continuously, which is really sad that you will enjoy um, seeing a family member so upset. Like, what joy do you get from that, right? Like, what pleasure do you
Yeah.
get from that?
And I have
And
something to say about that when you're finished. Oh, I made a note.
oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I'll keep this next part short. So this led to other family members, because this was happening repeatedly, seeing me as the bad guy, because he always somehow twisted the narrative to make himself the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of family members ask, that we not bring up the topic anymore, and we will always be like, okay, we won. And then sometime we'll go back and he will do it again, and then the process will start all over again. Yeah, it eventually led to some of those family members becoming very distant from me and not even talking to me because of that. So I have more stories about him. So, like, it's gonna be a separate story that happened just yesterday. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and ask the question now because it's related to this part. So
Oh, okay. All right. Well, no, actually, it was more of a kind of a fleshing out of what you were talking about. One of the things that I do write about in the book as well is that they get off on working you emotionally, and they get off on having that kind of control. And for those of us who don't do this and we don't operate this way, this is really, really hard because we don't expect it to happen. And so now we've got someone doing this, and it's completely passive aggressive. Like, it's not, there's no accountability or directness in the behavior. They're completely just they know what upsets you. Like, they've got your like that usually they get the blueprint of the person. They've got your blueprint, and now they're going to start pressing on things that they know. And it's not designed to have an honest, mature conversation. It's not a designed to have an accountability. It's designed to
yeah,
get you upset, so then they can say, well, now I don't understand why are you yelling at me, and all of that stupidity. But it's kind of like, I abused you by knowingly saying things to you that I know are hurtful to you, and now you're upset with me, and now I'm going to give you trouble and be the victim because why are you're being mean to me, which is essentially what you're saying. And so, what's wrong
that
with
is,
you? Like,
yeah.
I tried to emotionally control you and fuck with you. Well, what's wrong with you for being upset about that? Anyway, yes. So please continue.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is just so true, and it's really sad that people that claim to love you will get any type of pleasure out of that. That it's just really sad to me. Um, I'm someone that's very honest. My kid is autistic, and I think I potentially could be as well. So I'm very black and white when it comes to that. Like, I will, like, if I screw up, I just own it. Like, for me, the steps are, you screw up, and if you didn't realize that you screwed up but you're called out, then you own it. You say, yeah, that okay, now that you bring it up, I can see that. And then you take the steps, whatever, depending on the level of screw up that happened. Like, either you apologize, or if you have to take any more steps uh, to make the thing right. And I think that's a really admirable quality in people, and I will expect that most people would want to be that way. So I don't get why they lie and manipulate and do all of these things. But so So back when when that was happening, I ended up having to block this person for quite a while, because I was just like, this is my boundary. Like, I can't handle this anymore. And I kept telling some of the, like, two other family members, I was like, he is actively doing this on purpose. And I think they couldn't quite see it yet, but it happened to them yesterday. And they saw it bright and clear because it happened to them. So here's the background. We were talking about the events that happened yesterday, right? The political events that
Mm-hmm.
happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, without getting super into that,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, okay, there was this thing where for some reason I was in the group chat, but I couldn't comment, I couldn't leave, I could just see what was happening. But my husband was in it. And so the conversation went on a little bit, and they were talking about the dynamics of what happened, the details of what happened. And this specific family member that I just mentioned wasn't even the one that brought this up, but it was another family member who also has taken that side because of what this family member has been doing and saying about me and making me look like the bad person. So this second family member now sees me as the bad person as well. And now, remember that I'm an atheist and they're both Catholics. And so they see me as sort of the sinner and the enemy, and what I
Right.
do by speaking publicly about atheism is probably gonna send me to hell and damage their
Hmm.
family up in heaven and all of that. Um, so anyways, the word I've been using to describe myself lately has been a humanist, and I made a very big post about it just a few days ago on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this family member follows me on Facebook, the second one, right? The one that hadn't been too involved before in the altercations. Um, so he says, out of nowhere, that it, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of, "Well, what does this shooting do for humanists?" And we were like, my husband
What?
was confused. He's like, and then he made like another comment, kind of saying that the shooter was a humanist. Now, keep in mind, we
Okay.
nobody knew who the shooter was.
Right.
So how did he assume that the shooter was a humanist?
Hmm.
So they went back and forth a little bit, and a little bit later, there was another family member who is a younger woman. She's super sweet and very, very honestly curious, and she did not know the term humanism, and that's perfectly fine because
Okay.
because a lot of people don't. And so she
Okay.
asked,
Mm-hmm.
what does humanism mean? Like, what is that word? And
Uh-huh.
so the first family member that I mentioned before that was actively gaslighting me, he says, so, well, someone that shoots people.
What? Jesus. Wait, okay, before you continue, just to interject, everybody who's watching, we're
Oh,
sorry, but for some reason our call in function is not working. We really,
oh,
really
okay.
want you to call in and we want to talk to you, but sadly, it isn't working right now. So we're going to have to, we won't be able to fix it until next week. Sorry. We really
Yeah,
want you to come back,
it,
please.
I would suggest if anybody has like any quick questions they can put in the live chat, then maybe our call screener can put it in our private for us to answer. That would be
Yes. Oh, yes, please.
that would be a good
Yes.
idea.
Yeah, great idea. Great idea.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, so go on. So a humanist is someone who shoots people. Fabulous. Okay.
yeah. Oh, so
Wow.
remember that I couldn't comment. So my husband
Right.
was and I were sort of discussing it, and he was the one typing the messages. And so, we he gave a description to the younger girl of what a humanist is, and the conversation went on a little bit. And I was upset, so I made a post on Facebook calling out this. I didn't name any names. I said, "Oh, I just had a random comment, someone saying that humanists are bad." And he, the one that originally made the comment, the second family member, goes on the chat and says, I just wanted to clarify that I didn't say all humanists were bad. So he read my Facebook message and went back to the chat, right?
Mm.
He
Mm-hmm.
said, what I said was that um, if he was a humanist, what would this mean for humanists? Well, I'm like,
It's an irrelevant question. It's a completely irrelevant, idiotic question.
it is like, what if he was a woman? What if he was an immigrant? What
What if
if
he
he,
was a hermaphrodite? What if he was a fucking feather? Who the fuck cares? It doesn't. Yeah.
right? He was actively targeting my wording to trigger a reaction because he didn't know that I couldn't comment. I think he thought that I would if I saw it, that he could
Mm.
bring me out of the woods and piss me off and make me have a reaction.
Yeah.
But that's what gaslighting is, right? Like they changed the wording because, and I have screenshots that he
Mm.
that that he did not use the word if at any point. He did not
Right.
say if he was a humanist. That was his defense after the fact that he was called out.
Well, it
So
sounds to me like it's the same kind of thing of, oh, I didn't say that. Well, yes, you did. No, I didn't mean that. Okay, if you didn't mean it, then this is the time when you need to be accountable and you need to say what you mean and mean what you say and don't fuck around with me after the fact trying to, yeah, of course. I mean,
uh,
this is a very common, it's a very common practice. It's a very common ploy, tool, weapon.
it is, and yeah, the fact that they are religious does show that it is something that is deeply rooted, coming from religion, but it also affects people who have come out of religion as well, right? And
Definitely.
we fall more easily for the tactics because we've experienced it before, and like our mind is still kind of in that mode, I guess, of like accepting it. But I'm glad that my husband was able to see it because he was very pissed. He was very pissed off. Yeah.
Well, that's good. One thing that I notice, just in responding to you saying about how we experience this in religion, um, there's just a couple of things just from what you said. So one is I consider myself to be on the autism spectrum as well. I would consider myself a very, very, like very on the low, near zero sector. But I know,
Spectrum.
I'm very focused on details. I handle details. I'm very precise in what I say. I care about these things. And I don't know that I think that those are positive things, but I do know that there's a level for me of precision in life that maybe I'm a little bit on the spectrum, but I'm an empath. And so I got the you're too sensitive. I've gotten that all through my life. Oh, you're
Mhm.
just too sensitive. And there are many situations where I've said, God, I wish maybe if I could just be stupid, maybe I wouldn't care so much. I don't know whether that's true, but um, one of the other things is the thing about like do why are these behaviors chosen by this type of personality? um, one really basic truth is that it's a quest for domination. It's the quest and it's the pursuit of power and domination of other people and situations, and for
Uh-huh.
the individual who's the practicer of these abuses to take control. And since they lack accountability and they lack the emotional maturity to engage in difficult conversations with grace and intelligence, the only tools they have are destructive. And so that's what they go for. And also because it's worked for them in many, 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 many circumstances. This has worked for them. Another thing, just in terms of the humanist, I define myself as a secular humanist and an existential nihilist. Um, and it's really important that people understand what these words mean, as you pointed out. It's very important to understand
Yeah.
that I don't need a religion or a church or a dogma or some other prescribed thing to have morality, to have a sense of morality, to have a sense of wrong, right and wrong, to have a sense of what is appropriate, to have a sense, read the room. It goes down to simple things like, well, I don't, if I did something that was tone deaf, I'm going to try to correct it. If I've been inconsiderate or snappy or something like this, I'm going to want to fix it. But when you're dealing with the covert malignant narcissist sociopath, they're never wrong. They never
Uh,
apologize.
right, they will never admit it. Yeah. Oh man, I have another example. Somebody completely different. This one's super quick. Um, so there was some stuff that happened recently. I don't need to go into that, but there were some rumors that started spreading about me and another woman, right? And so I heard this from two separate people that don't even know each other. And they both said that this one person said the rumor about me and the other woman. And so it was quite harmful, like it could have cost us, cost us a reputation and stuff like that. And so I wanted to make sure when I confronted this person, they said, no, I didn't say that. I don't, or if I said something, my words were misconstrued. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it because I'm a very factual person who likes to have facts, to make sure that whatever I am accusing someone of is accurate, right? And so I went to one of the people and I asked if I could please have the exact wording, and they submitted to me a screenshot with the person who created the rumor's name, um, and it was exactly what they had told me this person said. And when I showed this person, hey, okay, if you don't remember what you said, here it is what you said. Same response. No, I didn't say that, and it's right there. Like no accountability. Not even like, oh, you know what? I don't remember saying that, but if this shows that I did it, I'm so sorry. That's what you would expect, rather than doubling down. Nope, I didn't say it, even though it's right there. It's really unfortunate that people don't value like truth or like friendships, because he could have undone the damage, right? That this could do to our reputation by saying this to people that we know. But now that's not going to be the case. I have to go and clean up that part rather than him taking accountability and clearing up. Like, hey, telling these people, hey, you know what? Maybe I didn't mean to say that. These are the facts. I'm sorry I said that. That's all you want. Accountability, responsibility, honesty, just a little bit. Value of friendships. If he had done that, I would be like, cool, we're back. Our friendship is good. You know.
Right. Because not everything is a deal breaker. There are some things that are deal breakers, but not everything is. And
Right.
sometimes somebody does something that's really fucked up, but it's possible to move past it. One of the things I write about in the book too is the attachment to ego, and that when we're dealing with this personality type, ego and the preservation of the ego is the priority. That there is nothing higher, and so for with Mr. X, for example, like this dude financially destroyed me, absolutely destroyed my life, destroyed me. I'm still paying for the consequences now. I'm at risk of losing my home. I'm at risk of losing. It's fucking horrible. um
Have you ever
he is a
shared
hell of a
this? Oh, I see Maya's comment. Yeah. Hey,
Nice.
Maya.
Thank you, Maya. Yeah,
Welcome,
that's it.
Maya.
That's it. The ego's a drug. Right. So getting to the point of that, he would cut, like, if the method is scorched earth, right? That's the method. The method is, I don't give a fuck if I cut my own nose off as long as I win this battle as long as I win. If I consider that I have won in whatever it is, if it's a battle or a war or whatever it is, I don't care if I fucking burn my own house down. As long as I walk away knowing that I won, I beat you at this, whatever this is. And so that's the thing about the ego. So this dude, I mean, he would do shit that was just, in times, even I would say, like, well, that's not,
It makes
you
you
know,
question
something like,
yourself. Yeah.
well, and also I'd look at this post, I'd say, well, that's also in some way that's hurtful to you. Like, I'm trying to tell you that you're doing this thing that also has a consequence of being hurtful to you, and still.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just I feel like I've been experiencing this like so much, especially in the last month. It has been left and right. Like you're gonna think I'm exaggerating right now because I have another story.
No, please, please. No, go ahead, please.
So
Tell it. No secrets.
and that thing about not caring about how this hurts you is what made me think of that. And also earlier you mentioned something about control, and I was like, wow, that's yeah, that matches. Um, so I have two friends, right? One is a man and one is a woman, and mutual friends. And so something happened where the woman accused the man of doing something terrible, and obviously I'm a very hardcore feminist, and believe the victim always, and that's what I did. And unfortunately, throughout the whole process of speaking to the victim and speaking to people that were witnesses to the incident and such, we eventually found out that this wasn't the case, that it may potentially have been the opposite, right? And it was a case where the woman willingly, purposefully gaslits and lied to so many people around her
Hmm.
to save herself, and didn't even think about the damage that it caused, not just everybody, but like the damage that it will cause her in the future when all of this truth comes out.
Hmm.
And it's really sad that someone would burn down friendships, burn down their own relationships, and damage all of these people's mutual friendships as well, potentially sending someone to jail all to save face. And
Hmm.
it's like like you said, you're burning your own house down,
Yes.
and for what? For what?
Yeah. For the
So
ego.
yeah, it's
And
for the
and
ego, for saving yourself. Yeah, because you're the
and
only
this
one.
does. Sorry. Go on. Yeah. This does happen. It's rare. It's definitely rare, but it does happen. One thing that I say a lot is, thanks, Wes. One thing I say a lot is, for the most part, a woman is not going to voluntarily say that she was assaulted or raped or whatever it is
Yeah,
in the public space and suffer the backlash that comes with that, because there's an automatic, it doesn't matter, it's an automatic burden. We have a comment here. Ambush Apostate, how we doing? I so appreciate you both sharing this. It's so validating to know I was being manipulated instead of always messing things up. I still don't feel good enough, but that's awesome. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Um, yeah, really, completely all love. Uh, but for the most part, a woman isn't. I mean, somebody is not going generally. It's more women than men, but it's not only women, right? We know this. We recognize that it happens across life. It happens across life. But we're not going to step out and say, "Hey, so and so assaulted me. Hey, and so raped me, or this happened," because it's for fun, or like it's just a whim. For the most part, in 99.9% of the cases, it's going to be somebody that's going to say, "Look, I know I'm going to be hit with some serious backlash. I
yeah,
know."
and they don't even report it in the first place because of
And
that fear. Like
most of
this
the
is,
time, we don't.
I
Right?
have to clarify that this is the very first time that I've
Yep.
ever personally experienced this. Like,
Right.
and I
Right.
know so many women who have been sexually abused. So many, like, like I don't know. I will say that I'm having a hard time thinking of a woman in my life who hasn't been.
Right.
You
So
know.
that was my experience as well. My father sexually assaulted me. He beat me brutally. I wrote about it in the book. Um, It was horrible. And I have had other incidences of assault since, after having, I had to escape from my parents because they were so brutal. And one thing that I wanted to say here too is, the thing about the gaslighting, and we're doing this because we're abusing you because we love you. Because I wanted to ask you to a little bit about your experience with religion, with this religion being kind of meant most of the time based on the concept that you have to suffer and that you're unworthy and you're a piece of shit and you have to suffer. So my father would beat me with a 2x4 and
Oh,
then
so sorry.
tell me that he did it, and then he would, and I'm like, and I'm going to be really rigorously honest here, okay, people, because I'm here because we need to have a community that is safe, and it's safe to talk about these things, and you don't have to hide in the closet anymore. He would beat me so brutally that I would soil myself. And then he would stand me up after I was like soaked and hug me and say, well, this is because I love you. And this kind of thing, this happens far too frequently. And far too many people have their lives really destroyed by this. And I'm still paying the cost for the damage that did. And religion does this too. And that's what I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit here, is the narrative of religion and about the religion of the dogma of suffering and all this stuff. So please, if you have anything that you would talk about with that, please do.
Yeah, I would also like to mention that the case of this woman is I I don't quite fully blame her because she's someone that came out of a high control cult, and I think that is ingrained in the same way that we become victims of a gaslighting much easier when we've been through it before. It's easier for someone that comes out of that to continue well past calling themselves an atheist, right? Like was past leaving that high control cult because they were taught that this was a mechanism to how things work. And also because they want to regain that control that they lost when they were still in these high control cults.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming out is like the tables turn. And I think they seek to have that control in order to heal the damage, maybe perhaps of what that did to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it also shows a lot, and I've seen this a lot when you were just talking about your experience with your parents. Um, so many religious people that I know use corporal punishment with their children.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from the biblical verse, uh, spare the rod, spoil the child. Um, is
Thank you, Maya, by the way. Yes. Yeah. And the thing about
Yeah,
that the parents, it's in the Bible, it's in the Bible, like, oh, well, you could kill your
yeah.
child if they disobey. Like, what?
Well, yeah. There's one about the kids being disobedient, where they can be stoned, right? They can be stoned to death for
Yeah.
being
You
disobedient.
can stone your child to death for the disobedience.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, it is within the cult, but it also seeps out of it and into society, and that's the part where we are always saying we don't hate religious people, we hate the religion itself, the structure that teaches this as the normal, that normalizes beating up your child in order to shape them into whatever you want them to be, because you love them so much that if you don't beat them up, then they're not going to be what your image is for them to be. And it's kind of
Hmm.
also ties to this whole thing of we're created in the image of God, and like I guess
When
a
in
lot of
fact, God is
religion.
in our image.
uh, I suppose, yeah, that's a good way
God,
to put
God is
it.
in. I mean, seriously, if you look at the shit that's in the Bible about what God said people should do, that's all the shit that people do to people. It's horrible.
Yeah, like kill them all if they misbehave. Just drown them and build a boat for the ones that should be safe. um yeah, but I
Yeah.
think
I
the
mean,
thing
my
with
sorry.
children.
Go on. Yeah.
Oh, like the thing with harming children in that way. I was referring to how we are created in the image of God, and all of those sort of saying is like, well, our children are created in our image, and in a way, why do people work so hard to shape their children into what they want them to be? Like, I try to do the opposite. I try to encourage my kid to do whatever they want to do, like whoever they want to be, like be your authentic self, because that helped me so much when I came into the secular community. In the beginning, I was not myself because I was so used to faking it to fit in to all of the religious things
Yeah.
that I thought was expected of me. Like the femininity and like don't get any tattoos, which I would have because I was like, this is what I want. This is who I am. So
Thank you,
yeah, I
Cosmic Kyle, for your comment. By the sorry, yes, thank you, Cosmic Kyle. Physical punishment never made me more obedient, but it did make
mm,
me far fear the people I was supposed to trust. Absolutely, and that's
that's
yeah.
exactly
Sorry,
it. No, that was beautifully said, because like if you break the child's what religion would call spirit, like you break their like that's what you're supposed to
yeah,
do when you're religious.
yeah,
You're supposed to break
yeah.
their spirit.
Break the spirit. It's
Yeah. And it's so harmful because, as Kyle just said, it doesn't teach the child anything but to be
to fear.
afraid of the people
Yes,
above them.
yeah.
Yeah, about
And
the authorities. Yeah.
to that point about instilling fear, and the concept of breaking. Uh, I've encountered this with other adults who are coaches or other things, and they will take the same approach of, no, I need to break you down to build you up. I'm like, what the fuck? Go away. You're supposed to make what I have shine and be better. You're supposed to help me be the best version of myself, of all the things. Break me down to make me. Who the hell are you? But I've encountered this with coaches, and I'm sure people out there probably might relate to this, that they've encountered coaches who approach you this way. I won't mention any names right now, but some names might be very recognizable. I did want to jump in with one other thing, which is just more about this thing about religion. So one thing, I call religion sociopathy because of its the whole setup, the whole structure. What religion seeks to do is not just that people have their own personal experience and they keep it to themselves and that's it. And if they share it with other people, that's great and that's all fine. No, they seek to go out and what? Preach, tell other people how to live their lives, make laws, make legislation, change country. Like that. It's not about so. And that's the thing about like when Catholicism was established for Rome, they did it by force. It was be Catholic or die. That was the choice. It
Yeah.
was not like, hi, we think this really cool. You should join us. No, it was you're Catholic or you're a fucking dead person. It's like, what? So, but my mother also, she spoke in tongues and she used punishment and degradation as a way to humble me. Like I needed to be humbled. So I was hit with a lot of that. Like religion does that, especially the Christian religion. And she was into the Jehovah Witnesses for a while as well. And so she dragged me to them. And these cults are typically known for being incredibly, really, like brutally abusive to children. So I know that in my experience with Jehovah Witnesses, uh, basically she brought me there and then she disappeared. I don't know where the hell she went. And she left me in a room with children. We were mostly unsupervised. I mean, there was some adult there who really didn't care about us. And it wasn't as if we were given a program of um, guidance or anything like this. And so I remember at one point I was really horrified. I looked at this boy and he had this like sick burn on his arm, horrible, just almost practically a third-degree burn. And I looked at him and I was like, what happened to you? And why? What is this? He's like, oh, well, I burnt my arm on the stove and then they told me I was a stupid idiot for my clumsiness. I'm like, what? They didn't give you Band-Aid? What is he? Oh no, they said I didn't deserve to be treated because I was a dumbass for burning my like
That's so horrible. Where's the compassion? Like the comfort. Wow.
The elimination of humanity. But this is what we're seeing in
Yeah,
these religious
dehumanizing. Yeah.
dehumanizing, right? We're seeing this with these religious people now who want to make legislation. What is it they say? Empathy is a problem. They call empathy a problem. They call empathy a disease. What? Humanism is based upon the concept of empathy. That is the basis for humanism.
It should
So
be
the
that
whole
everybody strives to be right empathetic. Like, why is that such a bad thing? Why? Oh,
empathy allows me to understand how this must feel for you, and then allows me to be motivated to do something that maybe have a substantive positive impact.
exactly. Right? Like, wow, how is that? That's such a wild concept.
I'm very radical. I'm completely radicalized now, and so are you. You know, you're clearly very radical.
Oh
So
yeah, my husband and I were just saying exactly that yesterday. And we were not radicalized, we're radical because we have some empathy and yeah. So something you said earlier, you talk about how your mom degraded you in order to humble you. And okay, first of all, I super quick. Uh, you saying that you were Jehovah's Witnesses for a while, or that at least your mom was. And do you know Ryan Koltasnik?
no, thank God.
Okay, okay. No, no, no. She's great.
Oh,
No, you
oh,
want
okay.
to know
Sorry. No.
her.
Oh,
You
okay.
want to. Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
she's amazing.
Sorry.
She's another content creator, and she